Essay question. It was through the influence of Black consciousness movement that Black South Africans were able to stand up against the apartheid government in the 1970s. Do you agree with the statement? Introduction. The Black consciousness movement, BCM, played a crucial role in mobilizing Black South Africans to resist apartheid in the 1970s. This movement, spearheaded by figures like Steve Biko, sought to instill pride, self-reliance, and political awareness among Black people, while other anti-apartheid organizations, such as the African National Congress, ANC, and the Pan Africanist Congress, PAC, were banned and their leaders imprisoned or exiled. The BCM filled a critical gap in resistance efforts. I agree with the statement that the BCM was instrumental in empowering Black South Africans to challenge apartheid, though its influence was part of a broader struggle that included other movements and external pressures. Background. By the 1970s, apartheid was deeply entrenched in South Africa. The ANC and PAC had been banned after the Sharpeville Massacre, 1960, and leaders like Nelson Mandela were imprisoned. The government enforced harsh segregation laws, suppressing Black political activity. In this oppressive climate, the BCM emerged as a new form of resistance, focusing on psychological liberation and Black solidarity, rather than direct confrontation with the state. What was the Black consciousness movement? The BCM was a philosophical and political movement that emphasized the need for Black South Africans to reject inferiority complexes imposed by apartheid. It promoted self-worth, cultural pride, and the idea that liberation could only be achieved if Black people recognized their own power. Unlike earlier movements that sought multiracial alliances, the BCM stressed Black autonomy, arguing that true freedom required mental emancipation from white dominance. The role of Steve Biko. Steve Biko was the most prominent leader of the BCM. As a student activist, he co-founded the South African Students' Organization, SASO, in 1968, which rejected white liberal leadership in favor of Black-led initiatives. Biko's writings and speeches articulated the principles of Black consciousness, inspiring a generation. His famous assertion, "Black is beautiful," challenged racial stereotypes and encouraged defiance against oppression. Despite being banned and later killed in police custody, 1977, Biko's ideas continued to fuel resistance. How was the Black consciousness movement implemented? The BCM spread through grassroots activism, student organizations, and community programs. SASO and the Black People's Convention, BPC, organized rallies, literacy campaigns, and cultural events to foster unity. The movement also encouraged economic self-sufficiency through Black-owned businesses and cooperatives. Unlike armed struggle, the BCM focused on changing mindsets, making it difficult for the apartheid regime to suppress its influence entirely. The role of students. Students were at the forefront of the BCM. The 1976 Soweto uprising, sparked by the government's imposition of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction, demonstrated the movement's impact. Thousands of students protested, leading to violent clashes with police. Although the uprising was brutally crushed, it exposed the brutality of apartheid globally and reinvigorated the liberation struggle. The BCM's emphasis on youth empowerment made students key agents of change. Government response to the Black consciousness movement. The apartheid regime saw the BCM as a major threat. Leaders like Biko were banned, arrested, and tortured. After Soweto, the government intensified repression, banning BCM-aligned organizations and detaining activists. However, these measures backfired. Instead of crushing resistance, they galvanized further opposition and drew international condemnation. The legacy of BCM. Although the BCM declined after Biko's death, its legacy endured. It reshaped Black political thought, influencing later resistance movements. The ANC, upon its resurgence in the 1980s, incorporated elements of Black consciousness into its ideology. Today, Biko is remembered as a martyr, and the movement's emphasis on psychological liberation remains relevant in post-apartheid South Africa. In conclusion, I agree that the BCM was pivotal in empowering Black South Africans to resist apartheid in the 1970s. It revived political activism when other movements were suppressed and fostered a sense of pride and defiance. However, it was not the sole factor in apartheid's downfall. International pressure, economic sanctions, and armed resistance also played roles. Thank you.